Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It's Thursday's 13 episode, the father and daughter news show, the comprehensive news of planet Earth, where we look at the news 10 to 15 minutes before we start with no caffeine. Let's go into those headlines and see what we're talking about today. Today on Before Coffee, we've burned through Earth's yearly resource budget in 7 months. And Venice cut size of tourist parties to 25 to reduce impact on city.
Will the Fed finally cut interest rates? We'll find out.
Algeria boxer who had a gender test issue wins first Olympic fight in Paris when opponent quits.
And have you read Project 2025? We're going to list the 13 people who should read it.
Crushing it. Why millions of people still can't stop playing Candy Crush.
There's always some more, which is Respect for Parents' Day, August 1st, 2024, Before Coffee.
Okay, well, time for a double news story. First, let's talk about Venice, which alongside Barcelona and, well, all of Spain, I think, is making the decision to cut down on their tourism so that the whole city isn't just lambasted with them. This is on The Guardian by Reuters in Rome. Reuters. Venice will limit the size of tourist parties to 25 people from today, August 1st, in the latest attempt to reduce the impact of crowds on the lagoon city. Local authorities will also ban the use of loudspeakers and by tourist guides in a measure aimed at protecting the peace of the residents and ensuring pedestrians can move around more freely. There will be fines ranging from €25 to €500 for those who do not comply with the measures, which were originally planned to take effect from June but held over until the start of August. The restrictions cover the city center and also the islands of Murano, Burano, and Torcello. In April, Venice became the first city in the world to introduce a payment system for visitors in an experiment aimed at dissuading day trippers from arriving during peak periods. The pilot scheme, which had been watched closely by other European tourist hotspots, covered 29 days and ended in July, opening the way for a period of consultation to decide how to proceed with the project in the future. There are a number of exemptions to the rules on tourist parties. Children up to 2 years of age are not included in the count, and the limitation is waived for visiting students or those on an educational trip. Yeah, so if you're on an educational trip to Venice, you can bring as many people as you want. But if you're just a normal tourist, 25 or get out. Not 20, just 25 of you. Okay. In Doomsday News, this is from Euronews. Green by Rosie Frost. The date has held steady for the last decade, but more needs to be done to protect our planet. Humanity has burned through Earth's annual budget for resources in just over 7 months. Known as Earth Overshoot Day, August 1st marks the day at which we've, the human race, used up all the resources that the planet can regenerate in 1 year. Overshoot will end, said Louis Akenji, a Global Footprint Network board member. The question is how, by design or by disaster? A planned transition gives us better security than seceding to the whims of the planet thrown off balance by an overshoot. This year's date is months earlier than the first overshoot day, which was the 25th of December, 1971. The last decade, the day has held fairly steady, but we are still blowing through our annual budget nearly 5 months early. The remainder of the year's humanity lives from overuse, further depleting the biosphere. There's a lot that needs to change to stop humanity from burning through nearly 2 planets worth of resources every 12 months. Overshoot Day is calculated using UN data to work out each country's ecological footprint and biocapacity of the planet. Biocapacity is Earth's ability to produce renewable resources and absorb waste, while the ecological footprint measures demand on nature, including consumption of resources and emissions. So there's a little graph here you can't see. Back in 1971, it was basically Christmas. And then the next year, it was even closer to the end of the year, probably like the 28th of December. But as we go down from starting in 75, or actually even 74, it's getting closer to November. And then there's a huge drop in 79 where it goes to almost October. Then it went back up in the 80s, but mid 80s it started falling down, and it's been falling down ever since. From 85, it's been just going down, stopped a little in 93, and then just plummeted from 93 to 2017. Almost exponential decay. Not really, but almost. I'm not a mathematician, so I don't actually know what x equals or what the y equals, but there's a slope. But as they said, it's not all terrible, because in 2013, since that 2017 marker, it has stabilized and even rose a little bit in 2021 because of COVID. Most people believe we used less resources because we were all stuck inside. But it's still July, still 7 months through the year. We've used all of the planet's resources that it generates in a year. Global warming caused by vast amounts of CO2 from the burning of fossil fuels is driving the deficit, according to the Global Footprint Network. The organization says that achieving a 43% cut in global emissions by the end of the decade would require overshoot day to be pushed back 19 days every year between now and 2030. Well, start working hard, or I should say, using less. Which countries are consuming the most resources? Some countries are burning through the resources faster than others. If everyone on the planet lived like people in the US, overshoot date would fall on the 14th of March. For Belgium, it would be on the 23rd of March. And for France, it would be the 7th of May, and Spain on the 20th of May. So there's your top overusers right there, the US. Good job, you're number one. There's a infograph here of the planet with a calendar, and you can find most countries on the list. And fun fact, actually, the US isn't number one. The person who's number one is Qatar. If everyone in the world lived like people in Qatar, we would go through all the resources on February 11th. Huh?
Qatar.
It's Qatar. That's how they say it in their language. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's how they say it.
Oh,
Anyways,
that's all right.
And then second place is Luxembourg. Wow, I'm ashamed. The Benelux countries, and Luxembourg is number 2. All the resources would be finished on my birthday, February 20th, if everyone lived like people in Luxembourg. But lucky for us, it's a small country, so nobody lives there. Most of Luxembourg is actually imported labor. So, woo! United States was 4th place. Canada was 5th place. These are all in March. Denmark is next. The Netherlands is April 1st. April Fools! We didn't use all the resources on there.
We still got resources.
Interesting enough, China is really down the list, 30th. Right? Most of the people are overusing the planet, which is probably not a surprise for anybody who knows anything, is Northern Europe. Australia and Korea are also pretty high up there, and Japan. But it's mostly just all of Europe. I think the first South American country is Chile. Yeah, looks like it's not even Brazil uses as much stuff as... What are the Chileans doing? Brazil is 50th or something. Brazil is all the way in almost August. Almost the average, right? Everyone, there's so many countries that if everyone lived like them, all the resources would be spent in mid-May. The majority of the countries are in mid-May, mid-March. That's a huge conglomeration of 20 countries just in there. Okay. The worst offenders are Qatar, which would mark the occasion on 11th February, and Luxembourg, which would be on the 20th. If everyone lived like the people in India, however, there would no longer be an overshoot. Okay, India, you're number 1 in something, not over-consuming. Good job. Just 0.07 planets worth of resources are being consumed every year in India. It's a good thing because they have the most people in the world, so it's a good thing they're not. Because imagine if they had the ratings of the U.S., but it was India's population, we'd probably be using 5 planets worth of resources.
Right.
The Global Footprint Network says that cutting CO2 emissions from fossil fuels by 50% would move the date by 3 months. Other national policies like creating 15-minute cities where everything you need on a day-to-day basis can be reached by walking or cycling, as well as introducing a 4-day work week could help push back the date. Encouraging green transport use could also help move Overshoot Day later in the year. Replacing 50% of air travel with high-speed rail would move back 1.8 days. So there's your environmental news, your tourism news, and now let's go to some economic news.
No, some technological and economic news.
Yeah.
Some technical glitchy because my computer doesn't work and I have to read this off a tablet. So here we go.
Yeah, we had a little power outage there at 8 p.m. last night, and everything decided to stop working as it always does.
I'm working off backups today, so it's a laptop and tablet. And this thing keeps popping up with these warnings. So it's going to take a while as I keep closing this app. All right, this is from the AP. And the author is Christopher Rugaber. And is the Fed finally going to lower interest rates? Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell on Wednesday set the stage for the central bank's first rate cut in 4 years. Has it been that long? 4 years. I think this is purposely done, I swear. So, okay. Back to the story. Okay. Citing greater progress towards lower inflation as well as cooler job market that no longer threatens to overheat the economy. Still, the Fed kept its key interest rate unchanged at its 23-year high of 5.3%. Increase this story. Man, this is frustrating. At 5.3%, despite calls from some economists and Democratic politicians to implement a cut Wednesday. Instead, Powell said that if inflation continues to fall, reduction in our policy rate could be on the table when the Fed meets next on September 17th and 18th. We're getting closer to the point at which it would be appropriate to reduce our policy rate, Powell said, but we're not quite at that point. A rate cut by the Fed is unlikely to have much immediate impact because it's largely expected by financial markets. Yet, over time, lower Fed rates should reduce borrowing costs for consumers and businesses, including mortgage and auto loan rates. So, hold on a second here. We're going to fix my technical shit, hopefully. Scroll. Rate cuts could also bolster the economy and potentially improve Vice President Kamala Harris's prospects in the upcoming presidential election. Former defendant Jay Trump has said that Fed shouldn't cut interest rates before the election. Who cares what he thinks? Yeah, seriously. Why don't you even pay attention to that clown? Every time he talks, he says something stupid.
He just says something.
Let's quote him.
He just wants to say they shouldn't do this because I wouldn't do it. That's all he does.
Yeah. Because it might improve things, and I'll lose the election. That's all he cares about, himself. In a statement Wednesday, the Fed said that job gains have moderated and acknowledged that the unemployment rate has risen. The Fed is required by Congress to pursue stable prices and maximum employment. And the statement said the central bank is attentive to the risks to both goals. The focus on both inflation and employment is a major shift. After several years of Fed officials focusing exclusively on combating raising prices, they're ready to cut just as long as we don't get an inflation surprise between now and September, which we won't, said Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics. Better late than never, said the moody guy. He's very moody. But Powell provided little guidance on how many times the Fed might reduce rates in their coming months. I can imagine a scenario in which it would be everywhere from 0 cuts to several cuts by the end of the year, he said. A way to keep him guessing. I'm going to predict 1, if any, or probably 0, because I don't like this guy. Before the Fed's decision, financial markets had priced in 100% odds that the central bank would reduce its benchmark rate at September meeting, according to the Feds. the futures markets. The Fed typically seeks to avoid surprising investors with its rate decisions. Stocks added a bit earlier gains as Treasury yields eased after the Federal Reserve held its maintenance rate at 2-decade high, but gave some indication that an easing may soon be on the way. The Standard & Poor's 500 ended Wednesday up 1.6%. The Fed is seeking to strike delicate balance if it wants to keep rates high enough for long enough to quell inflation, which has fallen to 2.5% from a peak years ago of 7.1%, according to its preferred measure. But it also wants to avoid keeping borrowing costs so high that it triggers a recession. Powell portrayed the economy as something of a sweet spot, with inflation falling and hiring occurring at a solid pace. At the same time, wage growth has cooled, which can produce inflationary pressure in the economy, as many businesses will lift prices to offset higher labor costs. That is ridiculous. They always blame labor costs on their price increases, but when they're making money hand over fist, they don't give everybody a raise, do they? No, they just go ahead and go count their profits. Well, they give the CEOs a raise. It's neither overheating economy nor is it sharply weakening the economy. It's kind of what you wanted to see. Earlier Wednesday, a key gauge of wages grew more slowly in the second quarter compared to the first 3 months of the year, though the increase was still faster than inflation. Wage increases are still strong level, but that level continues to come down in a more sustainable level over time, he said. That's exactly the pattern we want to be seeing. Yet the unemployment rate ticking higher for 3 months in a row, some economists have raised concerns that the Fed should cut rates more quickly later this year. The finish line is in sight. What finish line? And it would be tragic for the Fed to stumble and fall with 1/10 of a mile left in the marathon, which is what I think they would be doing if they don't start cutting. Bharat Ramamurthy says, an advisor at American Economic Liberties Project and a former economist at the Biden White House, said on a call Monday with reporters. Also Wednesday, 3 Democratic senators, led by Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, urged Powell in a letter to cut rates. The letter charged that the failure to reduce borrowing costs soon suggests the Fed is giving into bullying and would itself be a political move. Powell said Wednesday that the upcoming elections would have no influence on the Fed's decisions. We don't change anything in our approach to address other factors like the political calendar, he said. In the latest piece of good news on the price increases last Friday, the government said that yearly inflation fell to 2.5% in July, according to the Fed's preferred inflation measure. That is down from 2.6% the previous month and the lowest since February 2021, when inflation was just starting to accelerate, thanks to Donald Trump's mismanagement of the economy. At the same time, the unemployment rate has risen by nearly half percentage point this year to a still low 4.1% as hiring has slowed. The government will issue the latest jobs numbers on Friday, and economists forecast it will say employers added 175,000 jobs in July, while the unemployment rate still remained at 4.1%. The Fed may be among the last major central banks to cut its benchmark rate. The European Central Bank reduced borrowing costs in June and may do so again in September. The Bank of England meets Thursday and may implement its first rate cut, though economists think it could also keep rates unchanged. The Bank of Japan is in a different boat, as the country has long sought higher prices after decades of slow deflation. Its inflation rate has moved higher, and the Bank of Japan responded earlier Wednesday by increasing its key rate. So there's your inflation news, and my arm is tired from constantly send that pop-up message that kept coming up on my screen, telling me some app isn't working that I don't care about. Anyway, I don't care about that either. They're just story on inflation and interest rates and what these bankers all think. So back to you.
The bankers be thinking, that's for sure.
Thinking about greed.
As everyone knows, the Olympics is happening, and there's a lot of sports every day, different activities going on, different things you can watch. And there is news coming out of boxing. This is by Greg Beecham on AP News. Imani Khalif of Algeria won her opening Olympic boxing bout Thursday, which was today, August 1st, when opponent Angela Carini of Italy quit after just 46 seconds. Now, you might be asking, why is this news? Well, that's because Kelly was disqualified from the 2023 World Championship after failing an unspecified gender eligibility test. So we have no idea what they tested at all. But she failed it, supposedly, and her presence at the Paris Olympics has become a decisive issue because of that test, which I think are fucked up. But my opinions aside, Carini and Khalif had only a few punch exchanges before Carini abandoned the bout, an extremely unusual occurrence in Olympic boxing. Carini's headgear apparently became dislodged twice before she quit, and an emotional Carini didn't shake Khalif's hand after the decision was announced, but cried in the ring on her knees. Afterward, a tearful Carini said that she quit because of intense pain in her nose after the opening punches. Carini, who had a spot of blood on her trunks, said she wasn't making a political statement and was not refusing to fight Khalif. Carini further said she is not qualified to judge whether Khalif should be allowed to compete, but had no problem fighting Khalif. And that's the important message for you guys out there who want to create sensationalist headlines. If the two boxers consensually agree to fight each other, that's all you need to hear. The end. That's it. We don't need to be putting science into it or testing people's blood molecules. Who gives a shit? If they want to fight each other for the gold, let them. Carini further said she is not. Khalif is an accomplished amateur who won a silver medal at the International Boxing Association in 2022 World Championship. The same governing body disqualified her from the last year's championship shortly before her gold medal match because of what it claimed were elevated levels of testosterone. 25-year-old, by the way, everyone has testosterone. Just in case you didn't know this, anybody who doesn't know that, I have testosterone. Everyone has it. Doesn't belong to one gender. The 25-year-old entered the ring at the North Paris Arena to a chorus of cheers, but the crowd was confused by the bout's sudden end. Khalif and Lin Yunting of Taiwan have suddenly received massive scrutiny for their presence in Paris after years of amateur competition. Lin won IBA World Championships in 2018 and 2022, but the governing body stripped her of a bronze medal last year because it claimed she failed to meet unspecified eligibility requirements in a biochemical test. How do you take something away? Oh, that's so messed up. And this only happens in female sports, by the way. And there was a cis woman who had elevated levels of testosterone, and she wasn't allowed to compete in running because she had too much testosterone. But you can have Michael Phelps, who also has elevated levels of a certain chemical in his body that makes him better at doing anaerobic exercise, like swimming, so he doesn't need to breathe as much, so he can keep going. Why aren't all his medals taken away? He has a biological thing that nobody else has. Nobody else out there has this mutation. It's only him. But he's special because he has it, you know. Only female sports do people care what kind of biological bullshit is going on. The Algerian Olympic Committee issued a statement on the 31st of July condemning what it termed lies and unethical targeting and maligning of esteemed athlete Amin Khalif with baseless propaganda from certain foreign media outlets. Lin begins her Paris run on the 2nd of August, fighting Uzbekistan's Sitora Turibekova in her opening bout after receiving a first-round bye. Khalif and Lin are two-time Olympians who fought in the Tokyo Games with no controversy, but suddenly it's a big deal this year. I wonder what happened in between 2020 and 2024. Lin has been an elite-level amateur boxer for a decade and Khalif for 6 years. They were allowed to compete in Paris by the IOC Task Force, which has run the past 2 Olympic boxing tournaments. The IOC on the 30th of July defended their right to compete. Olympic boxing reached gender parity for the first time this year, with 124 men and 124 women competing in Paris. Wow, that's something to celebrate. Good job. Both men and women can punch each other in the face. The equal amount of them can punch each other in the face. Everyone competing in the women's category is complying with the competition eligibility rules, IOC spokesperson Mark Adams said. There are women in their passports, and it stated that is the case, that they are female. Lynn is a top seed in the 57 kilogram category, although Olympic seeding is frequently unindicative of the top medal contenders in a division. Several sports have updated their gender rules over the past 3 years, including World Aquatics, World Athletics, and International Cycling Union. The track body also last year tightened rules on athletes with differences in sex development. Your body developed differently than mine, so you're not allowed to compete against me. But the IOC said it made its eligibility decisions on boxers based on the gender-related rules that applied in the 2016 Rio de Janeiro Olympics. The IOC is in charge of boxing in Paris because the IBA has been banned from the past 2 Olympics because of years of governance problems, a lack of financial transparency, and many perceived instances of corrupting in judging and refereeing. Wow, lovely. Glad those guys aren't here. The IOC has revoked the Olympic status of the IBA, which is controlled by President Umar Kremlev, who is Russian. Just fun fact. He brought in Russian state-owned Gazprom as its primary sponsor and moved much of IBA's operations to Russia. The IBA has since lost more than 36 members who have formed a new group called World Boxing, which hopes to be recognized by the IOC as the sports governing body ahead of the 2028 Los Angeles Games. The IBA has aggressively seized on the boxers' presence in Paris to criticize the IOC after the Court of Arbitration for Sport upheld the IOC's ban earlier this year. The IBA appealed to the Swiss Federal Tribunal. The banned body issued a statement on the 1st of July, in which it claimed both boxers did not have a testosterone examination last year, but were subject to separate and recognized tests for their disqualification. Okay. But it wasn't, what was it then? Why can't they, The IBA said the tests are specific and remain confidential, refusing to explain. As far as I'm concerned, they told them to take their pants off and said, nope, you're not allowed to box. The end. The fact that they're hiding what this test was is really suspicious. Kremlev also posted an incendiary video on social media in which he criticized IOC President Thomas Bach, the opening ceremonies, and the decision to allow Khalif and Lynn to compete. Oh, so it's basically a international boxing association run by a demagogue. We love those here on Before Coffee. Women's boxers have been asked about Khalif and Lynn repeatedly this week. Many have expressed concern, while others have urged more consideration of an obviously complicated issue. I don't agree with that being allowed, especially in combat sports, as it can be incredibly dangerous, Australian middleweight Caitlin Parker said. But right now, my focus is on getting through each fight. It's not like I haven't sparred with these guys before, but it can be dangerous for combat sports and it should be seriously looked into. It is good that these things are coming out and that being put under the spotlight to look into further. Biologically and genetically, they are going to have more advantages. No. Are you a doctor? Wrong. Incorrect. Combat sports can be dangerous. Fairness is what it's all about. We all want fairness in sport. No, you all want to win in sports. Fairness, it's never been about fairness. I don't think sports has ever been about fairness. It's always been taking advantage, getting an upper hand, and winning is what sports has always been about. And like I said, she's not a doctor. There is no biological or genetic advantage to being born male and then taking hormones to not only limit your testosterone, but actually taking proestrogen to change your body formation. That's how all bodies work. And I'm not a doctor either, but it's bullshit. Yeah. And that's the end. Let's go on to our Thursday 13.
All right. I'm not a big fan of women's boxing in general. I don't even like women's boxing. I just think, why do women want to beat each other up?
People can get injured in boxing. Yeah? Is this supposed to be news or something? Why are we acting? Oh my God!
It's the most brutish sport there is, and why do women want to do it? Ugh. That was like to me. Maybe I'm old-fashioned, but
that's okay.
Women blasting each other in the face doesn't do anything for me except repulse me. Sorry.
People who are old-fashioned, but they won't admit they're old-fashioned.
watching two men beat each other up is barbaric. But I admit, okay, as long as there's rules, we can enjoy that. Watching women do it, I don't think women. Call me old-fashioned. Should be as barbaric as men.
If we want to talk about
that should not be your goal.
Women should be fighting men in the ring because that's the only reason women even originally learned how to do any sort of martial arts, to defend themselves against men. So I think we should do a co-ed boxing match.
Of all the traits men have, the least admirable of men's traits is being brutes that force themselves on other people. So that's what you're celebrating with that. So if you want to be like men, more like men, it's the whole. Why would you want to be like men? We can't figure shit out for ourselves, man. I'm just saying, man. Equality is one thing, but you want to be equality at the brutish things. How about this? I don't want to be like a man and die at my desk of a heart attack and be underappreciated at work. No, be underappreciated somewhere else. You don't want to work. Working sucks. Working for other people that make money sucks. It sucks. It really sucks. It really does. Man. The whole system sucks, right? Yeah. If I could get away with not going to work, I would do it. Damn right.
We'll start having babies.
That's absurd. Anyway,
that's the trade-off. You have to start having children, and then you don't have to go to work.
That makes you a woman. But anyway, who should read Project 2025 is our today's Thursday 13, and I don't have any camera guide because it's off to the left here because of my setup here. So I'm just going to count on the fact that you can see this. Who should read Project 25? And Project 25, if you don't know, is a right-wing, ultra-right-wing plan to streamline government, when they get in control of everything. They're going to make sure federal workers are on their side. So they're going to have a purity test. But there's all kinds of fun little surprises in there. So we get a list of who should read Project 25. The first group's a big group. Women. Women should read Project 25. Why should they read it? Can you guess why?
Because it says a bunch of shit like, we're going to not let women vote.
Oh, not that. That's not that.
Oh, okay. That was a different project. There is a project out there where people are trying to take away the women's vote.
The reason you should pay attention to it and read it is because if you think abortions are restricted now because states can limit them, well, they're going to, among other things, restrict interstate travel. Yeah, you go to another state to have an abortion, they have you arrested at the state line as you're coming back, or at the airport. Yeah, what were you doing? In that other state. Yep, they're going to be all up in your business even more. Big brother telling you what to do.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, yeah. Number 2, anyone considered woke or DEI. Of course, woke and DEI are racist dog whistles for black. In case you aren't paying attention, woke and black are the same thing because they started going after that. And DEI just means diversity, equity, and inclusion. They want to get rid of that. In other words, they're going to look at you and your job if your skin is not white and go, how do you get that job? I bet you got a DEI promotion.
Yeah.
And here comes all your bad performance reviews, and they're going to force you to quit. That's what's going to happen to you if you have a nice government job and you're not lily white or considered normal or whatever.
I love it when 90% of your workforce can be white people who got the job because they know somebody in the company. But then when a black person does something like, something like that. You got here because you're a diversity hire. Nobody else is here for their merit. Yeah.
What Donald Trump has done is brought the racists out in the open. And now they think they can just get away with this shit. LGBTQ people are going to be, of course, singled out for being different, unique. If you got anything on you that makes, oh my God, again, this kind of goes to the DEI thing. Plus, they're going to take away your rights. If you had some hard-earned rights, they're going bye-bye. Number 4, veterans. Oh, the group that the government loves to screw, but loves to send off the war. The veterans. They're always on the list of cuts. Why? Because nobody cares. Once you get shot, once you come back shell-shocked, once you come back and your family hates you, they got nothing for you, buddy. Just go off and disappear. We're done with you.
We'll be
Goodbye.
homeless, like
Let's just because they're going to cut your benefits. That's right. If you're getting disability, they're going to make it harder for you to get a claim through. Disability for a veteran. Oh my God, how did they get disabled? That's terrible. Boy, we should take care of our veterans. Here's a flag. That's a solution. Number 5, disabled people. Let's lump them in too. All disabled people. You getting disabled pay? They're going to cut it. That's right. You can't work and you're going to get your pay cut. Isn't that a wonderful world to look forward to? And maybe they'll have themselves a euthanasia board. So remember the euthanasia boards that they were warning about in Obama? It was Obamacare. He's going to have lists of people that are going to be cut off because they're costing the government too much money. Well, guess what? Obamacare ain't doing it, but Project 2025, they're going to be killing disabled people basically one paycheck at a time.
Mm-hmm.
The globe ought to be concerned. The entire globe. Yes, all 6 billion of you. Get your English translation books ready, or get somebody to translate it for you. Read what the United States is going to do to fuck up the globe. They're going to continue to burn coal and oil and explore for oil even higher rate. Did you know the United States is the #1 exporter of oil in the world? Yeah, we're a net exporter of oil. We're going to drill for more.
Woo!
That's not enough for these Project 2025 people. Drill. Next thing. Sports fans. Hey, your favorite sports fan, his mom has a DEI job. She just got fired. Is he going to care? Yes, he is. A lot of people are going to care because their relatives are coming home without paychecks because, I don't know, I've had this job for 16 years and all of a sudden I got fired. I don't know what's going on. Oh yeah, athletes are going to start boycotting and it's going to be ugly. Music fans. You think your favorite people who are entertainers, who are trans or whatever, or know anybody that's trans or anything, or know anybody that's gay are going to be sitting down for this? No, your music's going to get harder to listen to because they're going to be more pissed off than ever. Probably going to make a bunch of bad music you don't like. And their concerts are going to suck because they're going to be lecturing you for 12 minutes before the concert starts and between songs. Who needs that shit? We need calm people to produce good music. All right. Who else? Foreign lovers. This is going to hit big in the South.
This is everybody. That's the globe too.
Oh yeah. If you live in the South, and I've seen the charts, the number one porn states are always in the South. They're all Confederate states. Guess what, Bubba? Your porn's gone away. You know why? Because you're a sinner. You're a sinner, and your porn's gone away. Because if there's anything that the right wing hates, it's somebody out there's masturbating. Make them stop. Yeah. Anyway. Number 10, employees who want to suppress workers. Might want to read this because it's like, hey, I can do this. I'm behind this 100%. It's like their Bible. I can make people work long hours for low pay and hire just whoever people I want to. And of course, it's going to come back to bite them in the ass because what the United States has is union members. That's right. Union members, get out there to read Project 2025 because you've ever heard the right to work states? Right to work states say, well, you don't have such a thing as a closed shop for unions. Say a bunch of electricians don't have to be unionized. Right. And they don't have to be certified or anything. We'll just make up rules as we go along. Anyway, union members have that right to work thing now. They're going to have states can outlaw unions. Yes, they can completely outlaw unions, according to Project 2025. Go ahead, Alabama. Make all your auto plant workers unable to form a union or they get fired. That's what's coming up next for the union members in Project 25. Number 12, the Taliban should read this and sue for plagiarism. That's a little joke because this is basically the Taliban chart of how to control people, force religion on them, make the women not work, and identify people who are different and shun them. And number 13, farmers. Oh yes, farmers, another group that the government likes to
manipulate. Our favorite people here on Before Coffee.
Farmers, you're getting subsidies, you're getting insurance premium. They have to buy crop insurance, they get premiums covered by the government, they get subsidies. Guess what? Project 25 hates you. They hate you. They see this as a necessary waste that could be going to the pockets of all the rich people.
Yeah.
So, unless you're a rich farmer getting government subsidies for water, they might even cut those. We'll see. But farmers are going to get screwed too. Basically, everyone is going to get screwed. But as we want to in this country, we have to break things up into special interest groups. Those are your 13 special interest groups who should read Project 2025. And I did send you a video. It's a short one.
I've already downloaded it.
All right, and you don't have to cut it, I don't think. So back to you.
Okay, in culture news, we're talking about something not so important and not so globally damning and apocalyptic. Candy Crush. This is from Keza MacDonald on The Guardian. A lot of people are still playing it and they can't stop. A lot of people at one point were in love with their smartphones. In the early days of Android and iPhone, apps seemed designed to delight. Throw a few quid at the App Store in 2010 and you could be playing some cute games, often involving birds, or messing around with a lightsaber within minutes. Social media apps designed for phones let us post artful, casual photos in a few taps for our friends to drop hearts on. It was fun. Once. But over time, it's become a toxic relationship. The fun got sucked out of everything. Social media morphed into a hellscape designed to ensnare and enrage us, providing just enough of our friends' posts to prevent us from actually quitting the platform, but prioritizing their own ads and algorithmic videos. Twitter used to be jokes and cat memes, and now it's, well, it's X. And we know we're not the only people who've deleted it off their phones entirely. The experience of using apps, phones, and the internet more generally has significantly degraded. And the same time can be said for mobile games. The same thing can be said for mobile games. Most of which now give you about 83 seconds of entertainment before trying to extort you for £77.99 a month subscription, or showing you misleading ads that are so fascinatingly terrible you can't look away. And for all that time, there has been Candy Crush. Launched in 2012, first on Facebook and on phones quickly afterwards. Oh, remember that? Facebook gaming? That's right. I don't know if that still exists now, but that used to be all the rage back in 2008. Facebook gaming. Yeah. Playing your little games on your Facebook, the Family Farm Simulator and all that.
The Farmland, yep.
Yeah. It was there for the boom years of mobile gaming, when it genuinely looked like the iPhone was going to be the new creative frontier for game developers. Everywhere and each week brought a new bite-sized gaming delight. It blew up around 2014 when it seemed to be on everyone's phones and inspired hundreds of articles about how fun, addictive, and evil it was. It's still here now, still one of the most popular and profitable games around. Its Swedish maker, King, was sold to Activision Blizzard in 2016 for $5.9 billion. Last year, Microsoft bought the entire group of companies for $70 billion. And in 2024, a staggering 200 million people still play Candy Crush every month, twice as many as in 2014. Its lifetime revenue was more than $20 billion. How has it stuck around? Not by changing with the times, it seems. On the surface, absolutely nothing is different about Candy Crush than it was 10 years ago. It still is a free game in which you can swap colorful sweets around to make satisfying lines of 3, and then they disappear, and more cascade into the levels, and you go until you have your fill. Behind the scenes, though, a tremendous amount of refinement has gone into how Candy Crush is made. It's still free to play, with only a small percentage of people ever paying for power-ups, more time, or more levels, but now it props up that revenue with ads. On a visit to King's Stockholm offices, full of candy-colored recreation rooms, breakout spaces, and generously apportioned canteens, which all felt conspicuously empty in the wake of the pandemic, they learned that King had morphed from a social media mobile game developer into a behavioral science company. Those 200 million players create vast troves of data on how people play and why, what makes them keep playing or close the app. The data is the most valuable thing about King. Like a social media company, the actual product is secondary. One of use for the data in 2024 is to train AI to develop new levels for King's games, Candy Crush and Farm Heroes, not instead of human designers. Instead, head of AI Luke Grinkovic Fries along them. They're shown how a human designer can put a candy matching level together, then press a button to have AI tested against player behavior models to see if it's too hard, too annoying, or too easy. This saves designers from testing levels on real players before iterating, which in turn saves a lot of time. King's designers put out 45 new levels every week. There are more than 17,000 of them in total, and many millions of dollars are devoted to ensuring that each of them is optimally satisfying. The data also tells King's designers that many millions of players have been playing for years. We take a lot of pride in having a really high quality game. That's how we keep our player base, says Eva Riot, Candy Crush's head of gameplay, who joined King as a data scientist in 2013. They enjoy the game, and for many players it becomes part of the daily habitat. It's the part of taking a break, relaxing. Many people do that multiple times a day, some people once a day. We have been listening to players' needs and desires. We've made adjustments and big expansions. The combination has kept people in love with the game. We always want to be the highest quality match 3 game out there. You don't retain players for that long by exploiting them. One reason for Candy Crush's longevity is that it doesn't go in for the high pressure monetization. Buy this virtual jacket before we take it away tomorrow! Or a low quality advertising that plagues mobile games in general. The last thing we want is to make players want to leave the game by annoying them, says Trevor Burrows, who is in charge of the Farm Hero saga. Our goal is to get people into the game and get them to stay. So, misleading ads, for instance, isn't something we want to do. We design our games so you don't have to spend money. You don't have to watch ads. These are King's principles to create the least friction possible. The game has become so optimized that people simply won't move on from Candy Crush. King actually tried to create a sequel, Candy Crush Saga Soda, in 2014, but so many people kept playing the original that it became a companion game instead. It's still running and about to celebrate its 10th birthday, with its own distinct population of players and multi-billion revenue numbers. Paula Ingvar, head of Soda Saga, has a different opinion about why people still can't stop playing Candy Crush. In a world full of constant demands, it simply doesn't ask very much of you. My personal hypothesis is quite difficult to prove, but my assumption is that it's part of your daily routine, she says. It doesn't interfere or compete with something else that's important in your life. It fits into small pockets of your day. And solving small problems is a uniquely interesting thing to human beings. It's a great to start your day by winning at something. The latest research we have on mental health is that if you achieve something small, you're ready to tackle something bigger. So it's a dopamine hit. I'm doing it. I cleared 10 different levels today. I'm not a failure. At least I'm good at Candy Crush. But then, of course, what if you're bad at Candy Crush? Man, your life must be really sad. I can't even beat a Candy Crush level. Why do I
cannot crush the candy. The candy is out of reach.
Perhaps the reason people play Candy Crush is the same people who sit with a Sudoku or a crossword puzzle over breakfast. The reason people still do their daily Wordle. It's a little win to set you up for the day. A few minutes of frictionless fun. It's not going to take over your life or empty your wallet, unlike doom scrolling on social media apps. It doesn't make you feel bad. It is, like in the most long-standing customers, playing the long game. I've seen a lot more mobile game strategies rely on virality, squeeze players for whatever they're worth, and after that the game is over, says Ingar. There's never been Candy Crush's strategy. You'll never have a difficulty wall or monetization pressure. We don't have to abide by every twist and turn the market takes. We have a very loyal base of players, and we can rely on their loyalty as long as we don't mess up and give them a reason to leave. So that was Casey McDonald conducting these interviews at King's offices in Stockholm. And King even paid for them to go there, so they wanted to be interviewed to brag about themselves. So there might be a little bias in this article. But you can't deny that it is amazing that Candy Crush, a mobile game, is still going strong 10 years, more than 10 years later. So great job. And to stay in history.
Yeah, kind of like the fidgets. Remember those?
Yeah,
they don't do anything either, but everybody bought 3 or 4 of those things. Did that fad go away? But it's just another example of people doing absolutely nothing with their mind.
Yeah.
Right? Just, that thing spins forever. Just anything you leave on your desk is like that. Like the little balls that just...
Yep. You had like
those things.
We had like a cube that turned into a big long square, and then it went back into a cube. I remember playing with it all the time. Probably, I think I broke it, but it was made out of paper.
Oh. I got to this day in history.
Woo!
And the year 10 BC. Yeah. Back in this day in 10 BC, Roman Emperor Claudius I, who extended Roman rule in North Africa and made Britain a province, was born in Lugdunum, Gaul, which is now Lyon, France. So happy birthday to Claudius the First. Get him a cake. I don't know. On 1714, jumping way ahead in history, almost 2,000 years, Queen Anne, the last Stuart ruler of England, died at the age of 49. 49! Wow, those royals they weren't killing each other by chopping heads off. They were just dying young of natural causes or whatever. Just dying young of being... in that time where a head cold would kill you, because they had no such thing as antibiotics or anything. In 1744, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, a French biologist best known for his theory that acquired traits are inheritable, an idea known as Lamarckism, not Limerickism, that's different, was born in Bazin-le-Petit. There once was a man for Bazin-le-Petit who liked to eat his things very sweet. I don't know what the rest of the limerick is, but he didn't invent limericks anyway. It was Lamarckism, which looked to me like the word limericks. 1819, American writer Herman Melville, best known for writing Moby Dick, was born. Doesn't say where, he just was born. Would have been nice, a little bit more information. In 1876, on this day, on the centennial of the United States, Colorado was admitted to the Union, becoming the 38th U.S. state, and adopted the nickname the Centennial State, at least temporarily. I'm not sure. So, 1936, the Summer Olympics opened in Berlin, in efforts by Adolf Hitler. Heard of that guy? Adolf Hitler. Sounds familiar. And the Nazi Party, to demonstrate the superiority of the Aryan race, were undermined by the success of African American athletes, notably Jesse Owens, who won 4 gold medals and made their German runners look like they were standing still. 1940, John F. Kennedy's Why England Slept, a critical account of British military that became a bestseller, was published. Why England Slept, telling England, hey, the Nazis are bombing you for a reason. Not because just because it's their nature, because you let them do it. You let them get away with it. And something like that. 1944, that was JF Kennedy's words, not mine.
Yeah.
1944, the final entry was recorded for the diary of Anne Frank, a Jewish girl who spent 2 years in hiding during the Nazi occupation in the Netherlands. So, sad day as the Nazis, speaking of Nazis, as we are, they suck. 1944, more Nazi news, unfortunately. The Warsaw Uprising began as Polish underground tried to oust the German army and seize control of the city before it was occupied by the advancing Soviet army. After running out of supplies, the Poles were forced to surrender in October, and I'm sure they were treated quite well. Just kidding. More tragic news on this day, 1966, Charles Whitman, a student and ex-Marine, fired down from the clock tower at the campus of the University of Texas in Austin, killing 14 people and wounding 31 others, one of whom died years later from the complications related to his wounds. It was one of the worst mass murders in public area in U.S. history. Of course, the United States, we don't give up on those records quite so easy. That record's been blown away, literally blown away, several times since. Icelandic teacher and politician Vigdis Finnbogadóttir, You know, Iceland, you do have enough things on the top of your names, like your letters. They've got the umlauts, they've got the tildes, they got the other thing. Anyway, I know it changes pronunciation, but it doesn't help, you know, poor English speakers like me. So Vigdis, Icelandic teacher and politician Vigdis Finnbogadóttir became the president of Iceland. Very famous in Iceland, but I can't pronounce her name. She was the first woman in the world to be elected head of state in a national election. Really? That seems rather weird. 1980 was the first time a woman was elected to the head of state on a national election. I thought Golda Meir was the head of Israel for a while. I'm confused about that. Wasn't she elected? She probably was appointed? I don't know.
Maybe.
1981, the cable television network MTV debuted on this day, so happy birthday to the MTV, starting in 1981 with the broadcast of the music video. Video Killed the Radio Star by the Buggles. Hey, we could have played that. We can play that tomorrow. We'll play Video Killed the Radio Star tomorrow. Well, day late, we'll go with that. In 1987, boxer Mike Tyson defeated Tony Tucker and unanimously recognized as a heavyweight champion by all three sanctioning organizations: the World Boxing Council, World Boxing Association, International Boxing Federation. Mike Tyson talks like this. He doesn't talk like a boxer. He talks like a really nice guy. He's just going to borrow a book. Can I borrow your book? Can I have just a book? Can I just look at your book for a second? Because I want to read a book. But he'll pound your face in. 1996, American author George R.R. Martin published A Game of Thrones, the first installment of his hugely popular fantasy series, A Song of Ice and Fire. So George R.R. Martin, who needs two middle names for some reason. And 2005, that's two middle initials. A lot of people have two middle names, but he wants both of them R's, by golly. I'm not George R. George Railroad Martin. George Ronald Reagan Martin. George Ricky Ricardo Martin. I don't know. 2005, Fahd, who became king of Saudi Arabia in 1982, died at the age of 82. He was succeeded by his half-brother, Abd Allah. That's what it says. Our featured event. Henry III in 1589 was stabbed by an assassin. King Henry III of France was stabbed on this day in 1589 by Jacques Clement, a Jacobin friar, and died the next day after acknowledging his Bourbon ally, Harry of Navarre, or Henry IV, a Huguenot, as his successor. Okay. Complications and political intrigue in royal families. As always, you're only king until somebody kills you. Or queen. Our feature biography is Maria Mitchell, American astronomer, born August 1st, 1818, and died on June 28th. Speaking of limericks, hey, I found somebody who was born in Nantucket. She was born August 1st, 1818 in Nantucket. So there once was a lady from Nantucket named Margaret Mitchell. Anyway, rhymes something with Nantucket. Use your imagination. She died on June 28th, 1889 in Lynn, Massachusetts at the age of 70. And our other birthdays today, or other birthdays today. Where's my list of birthdays? They usually list a big long list of birthdays. Oh, they're on the side. Here we go. 1819 is the birthday of Herman Melville. We already covered that, the Moby Dick guy. Henrietta Lacks, American medical patient. 1920, of course, Henrietta Lacks, famous for... She died. She is actually the mother of a DNA sample. Let me get this right, because we reported on it before. Henrietta Lacks began undergoing radiation treatments for cervical cancer. This is the best medical treatment for the time, and her cells have been kept alive. The donation of Henrietta Lacks cells was the first and for many years the only human cell line able to reproduce indefinitely. Her cells, known as HeLa cells for Henrietta Lacks, remain a remarkably durable and prolific line of cells used in research around the world. So talk about never dying. She has not actually died. Her cells are still reproducing. How about that? Of course, her estate is getting sued, and they got a big settlement because they didn't have her permission to do that. They just started doing it. Meir Kayan, his birthday is 1932 on this date, Israeli political extremist and rabbi. And I'm looking at I apologize for looking at my laptop too much, but it is Yves Saint Laurent, French designer, born in 1936 today, turns 88. 1965 is the birthday of Sam Mendes, English director. What national day is it? National Day is Minority Donor Awareness Day. Minority Donor Awareness Day. That's rather specific. National Raspberry Cream Pie Day.
Oh, hell yeah.
Raspberries. And cream pie. And National Girlfriends Day. So I'm going to call up all my national girlfriends. Not my international girlfriends, but just the national ones.
Only the ones in the same country as you.
That's right. I'm being country specific today. Calling all my girlfriends and say, "What's up, girlfriend?" International Mahjong Day. It's like the tile game. I don't understand. It looks like dominoes, kind of, but I'm sure very popular in many parts of the world. Ever play Mahjong?
I've never played it, but I know about it.
I've seen people play it. National IPA Day. That's your homebrew beer. So get blasted on some IPA, I guess. And Respect for Parents Day, which should be every day. At least if you respect your parents. If you don't respect them, I don't know what to tell you. You have lousy parents? I don't know. But respect your parents. They went through a lot of crap for you. So there's your days for today. Which is August 1st in this world. All the news we can find, all the crap we can dig up, and all the technical glitches we can deal with for August 1st, 2024. On Before Raspberry Cream Pie. Here, back to you.
Okay, well, this has been Allison here from the Netherlands. I hope you guys had a great Wednesday and are going to have a great Thursday. Don't forget to keep yourself informed out there. And subscribe to this channel. Turn on those notifications so you know when we go live or post a video. And of course, like the video if you enjoyed learning all the stuff we talked about today. And we will see you tomorrow for the Friday news dump. Hopefully, we can figure out something. Well, we have the whole weekend to figure out our technical issues, I guess, to be fair. So we don't have to rush and fix it for tomorrow. But I have a good one. And here is our mic drop moment.
We all here remember what those 4 years were like. And today, we were given yet another reminder. This afternoon, Donald Trump spoke at the annual meeting of the National Association of Black Journalists.
Yeah.
And it was the same old show. The divisiveness and the disrespect.
Yep.
And let me just say,
always the disrespect.
The American people deserve better. The American people deserve better.
100%.
The American people deserve a leader who tells the truth, a leader who does not respond with hostility and anger when confronted with the facts. We deserve a leader who understands that our differences do not divide us. They are an essential source of our strength. So I say to Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, ours is a fight for the future, and it is a fight for freedom.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons. And
follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.